My MacBook Pro is the centerpiece for my setup. That device keeps everything together from designing, audio, editing. I like using a simple plug-and-play device connecting to my laptop on my desk instead of plugging in a million dongles, cables, so it really looks like it's on life support. A simple one cable solution for everything, which brings me to one Thunderbolt dock. It makes my office setup look cleaner and it makes my life so much easier. This Thunderbolt 4 dock is a little bit different compared to the rest. It really almost works like magic. Hey, it's everyone's favorite 20-second letter of the alphabet. It's V. Let's get started. This was sent to me for review. No one gets to see this review before it drops on YouTube. These are my thoughts and only my thoughts. I was not paid to review this. This is by a company called TobenONE. This is a Thunderbolt 4 dock, which can be picked up off Amazon for about $250. It has about 13 different ports for about every type of I/O needed. It does include a display port, which a lot of these devices don't really seem to have. Just having those extra frames compared to just 60, which just works better overall. But Thunderbolt 4 seems to be pretty native when it comes to Windows. Like in 2024, mid-range Windows laptops will at least have one Thunderbolt 4 port. Mine does. Thunderbolt 4 is more ideal for Windows. Thunderbolt 3 is more ideal for Mac. Like the differences between them are very minimal. Thunderbolt 3 is more ideal for Macs because it allows Apple better integration with all the hardware with less restrictions. Unlike what Windows did with Thunderbolt 3, inside the box you do get the usual stuff, the customer service card and the instructions, the TB4 dock, and a small Thunderbolt cable. You do have the base here to hold up the dock upright, which I mean this thing is covered in magnets. It does have the world's biggest power supply here. Even though Thunderbolt docks are fairly small, it does really require having extra power to keep everything going. When it comes to Thunderbolt devices, it can output 100 watts for charging. That alone requires a bigger power supply. I've owned the Anker 577 for a few years, and that is a TB3 dock, and it's been going good ever since. Before I dabbled in different USB hubs, they're fine for the most part, but they do tend to cause issues down the road, and they don't always play nice with every device. But I mean, they did get me by for the time being. Switching between a Thunderbolt 3 and a Thunderbolt 4 dock, for most people, won't really notice a difference. It is there. A Thunderbolt 4 dock can push out to an 8K monitor. It has a little bit more power for charging devices. There are a few other things, but they are quite similar to a Thunderbolt 3 dock. If it wasn't for me being sent this, I would have stuck with the Anker 577. This can also charge any laptop around 100 watts for max charging. Some other Thunderbolt docks can do 60 or 70, so this is more on the high end for when it comes to charging. This will work with any computer, Mac or Windows, as long as it has a Thunderbolt port. Even my iPad Pro has one of these. Most devices should be able to take advantage of this. Some Thunderbolt devices will only charge about 60 or 70 watts. Like for example, for my MacBook Pro, it will charge it, but just drain the battery very, very slow, just because my laptop needs around 100 watts. So it really depends on the laptop and the charging speeds. This is one thing people always look for in a Thunderbolt device is 100 watts of charging speeds. The front side has the on and off button. You have a full size and micro SD card slot, 2 Type A ports and a Type C port, along with a headphone port. With this general setup, it gives you about every type of port needed to plug in about any accessory, any hardware. I do like having the SD card slot in front because I do a lot of photo and video with my memory cards. The backside offers even more ports plugged in, standard DC input for the power brick, Ethernet for wired data connection if Wi-Fi is unavailable or flaky. There are 3 full-size Type A ports, a Thunderbolt port, and another Type C port. You can daisy chain other Thunderbolt devices together. You also have HDMI and a display port for video. Personally, I prefer a display port because it offers more frames per second. My monitor can do about 240 frames per second, so comment down below HDMI or display port. I will say this magnetic base is really beefy. This thing is pretty heavy, around 200 grams. The actual Thunderbolt dock weighs around 400 grams. It's about half the weight, so it's not too top heavy to keep it pretty sturdy and put in place. These magnets are really strong. This dock will not go anywhere. Simply put, this is one device worth its weight in gold. Thunderbolt devices are a undervalued accessory most people don't really use. It's a simple plug and play device which makes my life so much easier. Without one of these devices, I would plug in a million dongles, a million accessories, and every port of my laptop would be taken up. Seriously, this looks like life support. Plus, with the limitation of video over USB, you are limited to either 45 or 60 Hz refresh. Plus, using adapters for video over USB can really be hit or miss. My monitors, headphones, microphone, 3x storage, SD cards, webcam, that alone is about 8 or 9 different ports. This Thunderbolt device has at least 13, so it gives me extra I/O. With a Thunderbolt device, just one cable, just one and nothing else. That to me is game changing. Plug in my laptop, turn on my Thunderbolt device, wiggle my mouse, and I'm ready to pick up where I left off. Switching from a pile of cables to a Thunderbolt dock has always been game changing to me. Going between Thunderbolt 3 and 4 is not nearly as bad and convoluted compared to normal USB. USB-C has at least 12 different standards for that oval port. Picking up the right cable can even be more of a headache. For most people, Thunderbolt 3 and 4 are quite similar, but there are a couple key differences. Thunderbolt 4 is a little bit better to distribute bandwidth to other Thunderbolt devices, and Thunderbolt 3 is better at consuming it all in one. Thunderbolt 4 supports up to 100 watts of charging speeds. Thunderbolt 3 can do about 80 watts, plus those docks are a little bit cheaper compared to 4. Some OEMs might not support every feature for Thunderbolt 3 for Windows. Mac gives full support for Thunderbolt 3. Thunderbolt 3 can push out a 5K monitor. Thunderbolt 4 can do 8K. TB4 is also built to daisy chain other devices together, eGPUs, other docks, it just depends. At the end of the day, they both do about 80% of the same thing. Thunderbolt 4 might have a slight edge over 3. I prefer having this dock over the Anker 577. It has faster charging speeds for my laptop, and it has a display port on the backside. HDMI is more widely accessible, but the hardware has limitations to it. HDMI is the most widely used standard when it comes to video. It is limited for 4K 60. If you have the newest HDMI, it can do 4K at 120. Granted, USB and Thunderbolt look and act the same, but they are vastly different. At the end of the day, one cable is all I need for everything. Even on my iPad Pro, I can connect it to my Thunderbolt dock for everything I need for work or school. It'll give me access to everything, the monitor, my accessories, and everything will work about the same on my Mac, give or take. All my storage, accessories, microphones, monitors, headphones. Compared to standard USB over HDMI, the video signal tends to be a little bit off. The aspect ratio, the colors might not be the same as you remember it. Using an ultra-wide monitor with my iPad over USB just stretches out the display. With Thunderbolt, it natively scales it to the proper resolution. Think of like retro gaming emulators for like the NES is 4x3, and when you stretch it out to 16x9, it looks stretched out. If a tornado spaghetti USB cable mess is for you, then this isn't. For those of you who want a cleaner looking setup, this is the one to get. Thunderbolt devices are the way to go. Going after the 3rd or 4th gen, there are no wrong choices here. It's a simple one cable solution for anyone who uses their laptop as their main computing device. I have a 49-inch monitor. I bring my laptop with me wherever I go, so I need a center stone piece to keep everything together. So with really good build quality, 100 watts, max charging, a display port, multiple ports on the front and back side, no one can go wrong picking this up. It redefines my home office, it reinvents my workflow to make it faster and more efficient. Granted, this isn't for everyone. For those power users out there, they can really take advantage of this. So like always, it's V, stay classy.